I have another project I'd like to share with you, and this involves absolutely no inking and no rouging unless you decide you want to do it. The holidays are coming, and we're always looking for quick gifts to give to people, things that we can do inexpensively that look really elegant, and I've got the perfect project, I think, for you. It's something you can adapt to just about any surface too. What I like to tell people when they're using my designs and my pattern packets is you don't have to put the pattern on the surface that I chose. You can always enlarge or reduce the pattern and put it on something like a piece of slate. The project we're doing today involves glass, and it involves DecoArt decoupage, which is an awesome product that I really, really enjoy using. It's really opened up a lot of design capabilities for me in my projects. So the first thing I'd like to do is show you the project that we're working on today. Now I have my 4 glass pieces here, and what we're going to do is we're going to work on this particular snowman, okay? And the pattern packet that I use, it includes 4 different designs, and then you can mix and match, or you can, just do one of the particular one that you want to do. And again, like I said before, you can size your patterns up and down to fit on different surface choices. So what we're going to be doing today is decoupaging the pattern onto the piece of glass, and I've got some backing that I want to share with you, and I'm going to go through the whole process so this way you see how easy it is to do. This is a really short video, and it's just like 1, 2, 3, and you've got really quick gifts. Let's go over the materials that you're going to need to work with first. I've got my DecoArt decoupage. It comes in different sizes, okay? And what I like about this is it's non-toxic, it's easy to use. Children can use it. There's nothing harmful in it. Soap and water cleanup. It's really a great product. The next thing is you're going to need your surface choice. In this particular case, I'm using my glass surfaces, and I have my glass shapes in 3 different forms. I've got hexagons like I've shown here. This is called a square diamond because it's a square, but the hole is drilled in the corner so that it hangs like a diamond. And then I've got the square, which is the same square shape, but now the hole is drilled right in the center up here, so it hangs like a square. What happens is when I order these and to sell them to my students, sometimes I can't get the hexagons, sometimes I can only get the squares or the square diamonds. So whatever I happen to have in stock, and when people order the glass from me, I will match the patterns to go with the particular glass size that they want. The next thing is you're going to need an X-Acto knife for trimming your paper afterwards. You're going to need a pair of scissors for trimming the pattern, a little bit of sandpaper, and I'll go through these steps with you. The first thing that I want to tell you as far as using my pattern packet and mastering or using the masters in the pattern packet and running off your designs, if you have an inkjet printer at home, what you want to do is run your pattern through the copy machine on the inkjet printer, and then you want to lightly mist it with a couple shots of either Americana or DecoArt Americana or Liberty Matte Spray to seal the surface and prevent it from smearing. If you're using a laser printer like I have, you don't have to do anything other than run the pattern off on the tracing paper. So here's the 4 designs, okay? And I'm going to now show you the matte spray, and we have 2 different. We have the Americana matte sealer spray, and I've got the Liberty matte sealer spray. Okay. All right. Now let's focus in on the pattern packet itself and what's included in the pattern packet. My pattern packets come in these page protectors, so it makes it really nice because you can collect everything and keep it together. And first, what I'd like to show you is I have the cover page with the 4 snow buddies. Okay. And you can pick whatever one you want. Like I said, we're going to work on this guy today. Okay. Inside the pattern packet, when you open it up, in this particular pattern packet with my glass designs, I incorporate 4 pieces of the backing paper, which are going to apply with the decoupage. So this is included in the little kit. Then you've got your master copy. So you can mass produce these. You can make photocopies of this and size them up or down, put them on different shapes of glass pieces if you want. And then in the pattern packet, I've already run off a pattern for you, which does not need spraying at all because I used my laser printer. And what this is a 40-pound vellum that goes through your copy machine really, really easily and prints beautifully. And what I'm doing now is I'm selling the vellum. I have a package of 40 sheets of the vellum that I've packaged for $7. And then what I do is I sell this to my students, and then they can put this into their copy machine, either laser printer or inkjet, and then they can run their patterns off and then decoupage them, okay? You're gonna need a cutting board for later to use with the X-Acto knife for trimming your glass pieces afterwards, and I'll show you, like I said, I'm gonna actually go through the whole demonstration and show you how it works. So to get started, I'll take one of my backing papers and I'll take my tracing paper and I'm gonna put this all away. Also, if I could show you this too, step-by-step colored photos of the designs from start to finish. What I do is I start with a little bit of Payne's Gray, and I would add Payne's Gray on top of the designs first, and then the second stage of color, and then there's your final stage. So you've got a whole booklet of instructions, and everything is very explicit for you. So I'm going to move this off to the side, and we're going to get started. So the first thing I want to do is choose which Schnobody I want to do. I'm going to move these off to the side here because I need my palette. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to take my little Schnobody, and what I want to do is trim on the inside of the black line so the black line goes away and doesn't show on the outside edges of my glass. So you just trim on the inside of this. What I usually tell my students also is you don't have to be super precise with this, because when you're done doing the decoupage, the tracing paper disappears and all you see is the inking, so it makes it look like you actually did your inking on the glass piece. It's a great way to cheat. Like I said, with the holidays and trying to come up with quick gifts to give to people and sell things, like if you sell these at the shows, you don't see a lot of these pieces out there. Now I'm going to go back and I'm trimming a little bit more of the black line, and that's where the sandpaper is going to come in handy afterwards, because what you can do is you can take your sandpaper and actually sand the edges of this down. So let me clear the area here, and I'm going to take my decoupage and put some in the center of my styrofoam plate. I love using styrofoam plates for palettes because they're so mobile. And I've got my junky brush. Oh, you're going to have to excuse me a minute. I left my brush in the kitchen. I'll be right back. Okay, I just went and got my paintbrush. And what I'm going to do now is take my glass, the square diamond, and I've got my backing paper. Now this paper, what I did is I ran the design for the snowflakes on both sides of the paper. So this way, after you do your inking, and if you decide to do rouging, you can see a little indication of the snowflake showing through the glass, but then if you look behind, you've got a nice backing, okay? So it serves a great purpose. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my glass, the square diamond, I'm going to flip it over to the back side, which doesn't have the bevel. And I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to base coat the entire back of my glass piece with a nice, generous, but not ridiculous coat of the decoupage. Now the decoupage dries crystal clear. It's kind of like Elmer's glue, but it's got a better composition than just Elmer's glue. And what you want to do is put a nice, generous coat without getting too nuts with it. And neatness doesn't count, because your brush strokes aren't going to show, because you're only using the decoupage right now as a glue. So you don't have to feather out the brush strokes. But what I do try to be careful of, and you notice that when I'm base coating the decoupage, I'm holding the glass piece in my hand, I'm not just laying it on the table, because I want to be able to angle it and make sure that I don't have any bare spots. A bare spot would indicate that after this whole surface is dry, you'd end up with an air pocket or an air bubble. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the glass piece like this, position my paper, it doesn't matter which side, and then just drop the glass onto the paper and just press it down gently. Now this is going to start the adhering process, so now I'm going to do the next step. You've got to make sure when you go to decoupage the tracing paper onto the surface that you've got the right side up. So that's the printed side, the other side you can see is duller. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take more decoupage and base coat the entire top of the glass piece right over the edges with a nice generous coat. But like I say, you don't want to waste the product, so don't get too crazy with it. And base coat, make sure you don't have any little bare spots. and take it right to the edges of the glass. Doesn't matter if you get any decoupage into the little hole because you're going to be poking it with the back of a brush later anyway. Now I'm getting ready to adhere my pattern. I got it right side up, and you want to make sure that his hat is lined up with the hole so he's not hanging sideways. So I'm going to take my tracing paper and lay it down onto the glass piece, and then I'm going to start pressing and smoothing from the center out with my fingers. And you'll see that the paper wants to curl up onto itself, and eventually it gives up, and what happens is the moisture from the decoupage works its way into the paper, softens the paper, and then it ends up finally just laying down flat. And what I'm doing is using my fingers like a kind of like a brayer, so I can work the air bubbles from the center of the glass to the outer edges. Now the first thing that happens when you are doing this, and this is why I like to demonstrate this, the first thing that happens is the moisture in the decoupage makes the paper kind of crinkle and plump up, and you see all of these little weird little air pockets and little white areas where the decoupage soaked into the paper, and the first thing you think is, oh my gosh, I ruined it. Well, this is why I like to demonstrate. Now look at what I'm going to do here. I can take a little bit of decoupage, lift this up a little bit, sneak a little bit more in there, and then work it back down again. So you have a nice window of opportunity as far as maneuvering this around. And let me ask you something. What is the worst thing that could happen if you totally rip, like maybe you ripped the tracing paper? It's just paper. All you have to do is take a little Tupperware or a Rubbermaid, slip your glass piece in it with some warm water, let everything soak off, peel it off, dry it, and then do it all over again. It's just paper, okay? So when this dries, you're going to notice when you look at these two samples here, this one I did before, and as the decoupage dries, the white lines disappear, and what you end up with is the crinkle effect in the paper. And then that gives it that really nice texture. So if I can angle it to the light a little bit, I hope you can pick that up. Okay? So the next thing is you have to create a sandwich with the decoupage. So after you apply the paper and the paper settles down, then you start to base coat the entire top of the glass piece again, going right to the edges to completely seal it. Take it right to the edges, and at the same time as you're doing this, if you notice there's a little bit of a lift here or a little air bubble, just smooth it down with your finger and then just go back and touch it with a little bit more of the decoupage. Now while I'm working on the front, the glass piece itself is adhering to the backing paper. And what I prefer to do after I'm completely done and I've done my inking or my rouging and my piece is completely done, what I like to do is base coat the back of the glass piece with decoupage. Make sure you're covering up all of the edges, and then you apply your matte sealer spray, and that's going to give you a nice sealed surface so your paper's not going to lift. So next thing is my cutting board. So I'm going to bring this into the picture here. And I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to trim all around the outside edge of the glass so I get a nice clean cut edge. Okay, this gets lifted off. This goes into the garbage. I'm going to wipe my fingers off with some paper towel. And then I want to show you what the back looks like. So right now you see all the white lines, and it's not really very pretty looking, but look at the back and you see that really nice snowflake paper. So it really gives it a nice finish. Now what I would do with this is I would let this sit and dry. You can speed up the drying process too with a hairdryer if you want. All you have to do is hit it with a nice hairdryer. Don't hit it too hot or use the hairdryer too close because that might make the paper bubble up. But what you could do is speed up your drying process with a hairdryer, and then all you have to do is just give it a nice shot of matte sealer spray to protect it. And the reason I told you about the sandpaper is after this dries, if you do get any little rough edges, you can just take the sandpaper on the diagonal and just kind of smooth it down so you don't end up with a rough edge. Now, while I've got you here, I want to show you something also. My girlfriend Kara lives in Florida, and she created these for a gift fair, okay? And what she did is she went to the dollar store and bought several bars of inexpensive soaps. And then what she did is she ran the pattern for the bells and the holly onto tracing paper, ran the pattern off with her, she has an inkjet printer, and she ran the pattern off, then cut them, and took the little pieces of tracing paper and decoupaged them onto the bar of soap. Now the trick is, what she did is she melted paraffin, and after she did the decoupage and after she did a little bit of oil rouging on the bells and the ribbon and that, she melted paraffin and then just took the very top of the soap and just dipped it gently into the melted paraffin, lifted it up, and then what happens is when you use this to wash your hands, the top of it stays secure and the soap melts from the bottom up, so your pattern isn't going to disappear on you. So talk about a really cool gift. So she showed me how to do this last year when I went down to Florida, and we had our certified teacher reunion, and she showed us all how to do this. So that's another interesting little tidbit, okay? So all in all,